I think that idea or a culture of victim blaming also emerges in these spaces, right? Where someone's place, clothing, situation, identity, and a lot of other factors become the centerpiece versus assigning the blame to the perpetrator, and which I think comes from this, how patriarchy is imagined and how it is there as well, right? So how do you see that playing out more and more, and how do you kind of break out of that essentially?
I think with violence, I think one thing is, and I can again talk about myself, and everything that I've been saying is not so much about the other as it is about myself.
Of course. You can always talk about, you can only talk about yourself at the end of the day.
But I also have to reiterate that because I think as humans, including myself, I have the ability to look at myself and make it about me. But everything that I've said today and everything that I'm going to say is all about my opinion and my experiences and how I view things. So I think also with violence, I think most of us, or again, going back to me, have been a perpetrator, victim, and have witnessed violence, right? And maybe not realizing that I'm perpetrating it, not realizing that I'm a victim or surviving it, and also not realizing that what I'm witnessing is violence, at a very personal level, because a lot of times there are other experiences, right? Violence is not an absolute emotion or an experience, and nor is love, right? So unfortunately, a lot of times, a lot of experiences in life have these contradictory emotions and experiences that have overlapped. And contradiction is okay. I'm okay with being a contradiction, So I do think that, so one would be to reflect, and I do think that, ये महायोगी टाइप के जो लोग आ जाते हैं, राइट, एंड नॉट ओनली योगी, बट ये कब की बात है, मुझे तो कौन सा मिनिस्टर ने क्या बोल दिया था कि नूडल्स नहीं, चाउमीन, सॉरी, करेक्ट वर्ड, खाते हैं जो युवा, वो ऐसे लड़कियों को देख के एक्साइट हो जाते हैं, या जो लड़कियां ये कपड़े पहनती हैं उनको ये कपड़े नहीं पहनने चाहिए थे, या फिर लाइक, ओ व्हाट वाज शी डूइंग एट दैट आवर, right? Like, and how, even if you're not saying that out loud, how that's your first thought,
Your reaction,
right? Imagine how much of that is in your subconscious, right? And I do think, right, like I do think a lot of us, so interesting fact, can be challenged, but a lot of who we are, like 95% of who we are is our subconscious, right? And our subconscious gets framed in very early years. So imagine being a child and hearing things like that, or absorbing things like that, or seeing things like that, to actually have like, it's the same thing, right? When I wake up in the morning or I'm going to bed at night, there are thoughts that are constantly playing in my head. Those thoughts are not things that I consciously want to think about, right? So that's my subconscious playing in my head, right? So how many of these things, right, like you inherently believe, right? You inherently think that this is what it is, So, yeah, like where is that coming from? कि उसने क्या पहना था? What does that have to do with anything? Are we trying to say that babies are not getting raped, right? That girls as young as 2 years old are getting raped. That women as old as 93-year-old are getting raped, right? Trans people are getting harassed for stepping out of their house if they're not getting harassed by being inside their house enough, right? Like, can't even imagine what a life to live. And I again don't want to talk about certain identities and certain communities only in, violence, right? Because there's a lot of joy, there's a lot of love in the community, right? So I do want to talk about that. But there's a lot of love in being a woman, right? I embrace it, I love it, but like just to talk about how there are questions around that, and what is it that makes it so easy for us and so important to ask that, right? And why are we listening to people who are asking these questions, right? What was she wearing? So irrelevant. Where did it happen? So irrelevant. Why is it not who did it? And there are lots of things around it. Yeah. So maybe just that.
No, I think it also makes me think about this incident last year during the Olympics with Imane Khalif, the
Right.
boxer,
Right.
and how so many people have the reaction, oh, she doesn't seem like a woman, and she's possibly a trans woman, and therefore she's exploiting the system.
Right.
And then some very prominent folks, including J.K. Rowling, went out there and like questioned the whole thing.
Right.
And I think the whole thing became about, oh, she needs to be tested, this, that, and a lot of stuff happened around that. And like what you were saying also then made me think about this incident, and also this question emerges, like where does I think that collision almost of women and queerness at times when they're imagined as well.
Right.
And also like so many times that women are asked to go through these tests.
Correct.
Was it the other way around? Men, at least as far as I know, I can be
Sure.
wrong, I haven't really heard about men going through these tests,
Right.
in the same
Right.
field of sports,
Right.
just to prove that they're man.
Correct.